smile. Come join our party, see how we play. Guess I'm on my way.
He sang to millions. He whispered hello across airwaves, melted hearts with Truly, and made love feel eternal with Endless Love. But through it all, 3 great loves, a broken family, and decades of fame, Lionel Richie never said who his endless love really was. Until now. At 74, he finally said it. She was the love of my life. Not in a song, not in a lyric, but in real life, spoken softly, with something in his eyes that looked a lot like regret. But who was she? Was it Brenda Harvey? The woman who stood by him before the fame, who helped raise Nicole, who once went to war for his heart? Was it Diane Alexander, the mother of his children, the woman he risked it all to be with? Or was it Lisa Parigi, the one who came quietly and stayed when everyone else had left? For decades, Lionel kept the answer to himself. He smiled, he sang, he moved on. But now, with a new grandchild in his arms and time catching up to him, he said it. And the truth might just surprise you. Because the woman Lionel Richie calls the love of his life wasn't the one people expected. If you love true stories, deep confessions, and the emotional truths behind the legends we thought we knew, subscribe to Retro Waves, because sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones that almost didn't happen. He spent decades serenading the world. His voice turned first dances into memories. His songs turned heartbreak into healing. But Lionel Richie, the man, not the artist, was never known for speaking about his own love stories. Until now. In 2024, fans were stunned when Richie, now 74, made a rare, deeply personal confession. No metaphors, no melodies, just 7 raw, honest words. She was the love of my life, not is. Not someone he's with now, was. The past tense hit harder than any heartbreak ballad he'd ever written. For years, people wondered which of the 3 women closest to Richie's heart he was referring to. Each one had shaped a different version of him. Each one had watched him soar and suffer. There was Brenda Harvey, his first wife, the woman who knew him when he was just a college kid with a dream, long before the world knew his name. Then Diane Alexander, a stunning dancer who lit a fire in Lionel during the height of his fame, and the woman with whom he would have 2 of his children. And now, Lisa Parigi, his elegant, much younger partner of over a decade, who brought calm after the chaos and stayed through his quietest years. But why now? Why this confession at 74? Was it regret, closure, or a final truth he could no longer keep inside? Because the moment Lionel held his newborn granddaughter in his arms in May 2024, something inside him shifted. The past rushed back. The love, the loss, the mistakes. And for the first time in 4 decades, Lionel Richie said her name out loud, but not before leaving the world guessing. And we're about to take you back to find out who she really was. Before the money, before the Grammys, before the heartbreak headlines and platinum plaques, there was Brenda. Lionel Richie met Brenda Harvey at Tuskegee University in Alabama. They were just college kids. No spotlights, no bodyguards, no record deals, just dorm rooms and big dreams. Brenda wasn't just his girlfriend. She was his confidant, his co-pilot, the one who listened to his early songs when no one else cared. She believed in him before there was anything to believe in. In 1975, they married. It wasn't flashy, but it was real. She was there when he rose to fame with the Commodores, back when they played sweaty clubs and long-haul gigs. She stood beside him as Easy and 3 Times a Lady hit radio waves.
I'm easy. 3 times a lady.
She weathered his long tours, his growing fan base, and his transformation from bandmate to global icon. In 1983, their love expanded. Lionel and Brenda adopted a 2-year-old girl named Nicole Escovedo, the daughter of a struggling musician friend. Lionel had known her father from his band, but it was Brenda who took the lead, mothering Nicole, guiding her through childhood, treating her as her own, and eventually they made it official. Nicole Richie was their daughter in name and heart. But somewhere between stadium shows and platinum records, something shifted. Brenda stayed loyal, but Lionel's heart began to wander. By the late 80s, he was spending more time away. Rumors swirled. Brenda knew something was wrong, and then it happened. The infamous 1988 confrontation, Brenda catching Lionel with another woman, leading to her arrest and national headlines. But through it all, Brenda never gave interviews, never sold her story. She stayed silent, and sometimes silence is the loudest form of love. Was she the one he meant? The one who knew him before the world did? If Brenda was the foundation, Diane Alexander was the spark that shattered everything Lionel had built and created something new. They met in the mid-1980s. Diane was a dancer, model, and fashion designer. She appeared in Lionel's Dancing on the Ceiling music video in 1986. Their chemistry was instant. But there was one problem. Lionel was still married. What began as a quiet affair quickly turned into a full-blown relationship, and in 1988, it exploded into public view. Brenda, still Lionel's wife at the time, discovered him with Diane at a Beverly Hills apartment. What followed became one of the biggest celebrity scandals of the decade. Brenda allegedly forced her way in, and the confrontation led to her arrest. The media frenzy was merciless. For Lionel, it was the moment his private turmoil became public shame. But instead of retreating, he chose Diane. He divorced Brenda in 1993 after nearly 18 years of marriage and married Diane on December 21, 1995. She was radiant. He was smitten. Together, they had 2 children, Miles Brockman in 1994 and Sophia Richie in 1998. For a while, it looked like Lionel had finally found peace. Diane brought a different energy, playful, magnetic, and rooted in their shared love for art and design. But love built on fire often burns fast. As the years passed, cracks began to show. Their once blazing passion cooled. The world saw less and less of them together. By 2003, their marriage was falling apart. In 2004, they divorced. It ended quietly, without scandal or spectacle, but not without pain. Diane remained present in their children's lives. Lionel never publicly criticized her. In fact, he often praised her dedication to their kids. Was she the woman he meant? The one he risked everything for? Or did that fire burn too hot to last? The truth wasn't spoken yet. But another woman, someone far quieter, was about to enter the picture, and she would change everything without saying a word. By 2014, Lionel Richie had lived through 2 marriages, 2 public heartbreaks, and countless reinventions. And then came Lisa Parigi. She wasn't a singer, not a dancer, not even someone tied to the music world. She was an outsider, a Swiss Chinese model and entrepreneur who built her own luxury skincare brand from the ground up. Educated, elegant, and nearly 40 years his junior. At first, people dismissed it as another celebrity fling. But Lisa wasn't looking for fame. She stayed away from tabloids. She didn't chase interviews. She simply stayed, quietly, consistently, and without demanding anything from Lionel. Over the years, Lisa became more than just a girlfriend. She became a stabilizer. She stood beside him at award shows, red carpets, and charity events, but never took the spotlight for herself. She celebrated Sophia's milestones like a second mother. Nicole posted birthday messages calling Lisa family. And when Lionel spoke about her in rare interviews, it wasn't with grand declarations. It was with gratitude. "We don't need a marriage license to feel married," Lionel once said, when asked why he hadn't proposed. It wasn't that he didn't love her, it was that he had been through the fire, twice, And Lisa, she wasn't trying to control or change him. She gave him space. And in that space, Lionel healed. When Sophia married Elliot Grange in 2023, Lisa stood next to Lionel, beaming like a proud stepmother. And when baby Eloise Samantha Grange was born in May 2024, Lisa was reportedly in the hospital room holding Lionel's hand. No rings, no legal vows, but no absence either. She didn't arrive with thunder, but she remained through every storm. Was she the one he meant? The woman who stayed when everyone else had gone? The confession was coming, but it still wasn't time, because before he said her name, he had to hold something brand new in his arms and remember everything he once lost. On a warm day in May 2024, Lionel Richie held something fragile in his arms, something that took him back further than he expected. Her name was Eloise Samantha Grange, his first grandchild, the daughter of Sophia Richie, his youngest, and her husband, music executive Elliot Grange. Photos captured the moment. Lionel smiling softly, baby Eloise bundled in a white blanket, his hands trembling just slightly. But what the photos didn't show was what he felt. In that quiet hospital room, as Sophia rested nearby, Lionel stared at Eloise's face, so new, so untouched by the chaos he had once lived. And in that stillness, the memories came rushing back. He saw Brenda holding Nicole for the first time. He saw Diane watching Sophia take her first steps. He saw himself in every version, young, arrogant, unsure, and searching for something he thought fame would give him. But this baby, this moment, wasn't about legacy. It was about truth. He realized that everything he had built, every note he'd sung, every woman he'd loved, had led him to this small, beautiful life. And for once, he didn't want to perform. He just wanted to be honest. So later that week, in a private interview, meant to be a reflection on fatherhood and aging, Lionel dropped the line that would stop hearts cold. "I've lived a full life, but I realize now she was the love of my life." The host leaned forward. "Who?" Lionel hesitated, looked down, and then said it, soft, but without regret. "Brenda." Not Diane, not Lisa, but Brenda Harvey, his first wife. The woman who had known him before the records, the scandals, and the silence. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just gave the one thing she never asked for, but always deserved: recognition. And with that, the mystery was over. It was just one word. But when Lionel Richie finally said her name, the world felt it. Brenda. He didn't cry. He didn't explain. He didn't romanticize it. He just said it like a man who had carried the weight of that truth for far too long and finally decided to set it down. For decades, Brenda Harvey had been the forgotten figure in Lionel's story. She wasn't in the headlines anymore. She didn't chase cameras. She didn't write a tell-all or go on a revenge tour. She simply moved on with dignity and silence. But silence can speak louder than bitterness. And it clearly never left him. Because when Lionel held baby Eloise, it wasn't just a joyful moment, it was a mirror. He saw himself holding Nicole for the first time, the baby they adopted together, the family they built before it all fell apart. And in that moment, the years folded in on themselves. All the tours, all the hotels, all the lonely dressing rooms, all the songs he wrote about love without ever fully naming the one he lost. He had written Still about lingering feelings, Sail On about letting go, but he never once mentioned Brenda by name until now. And when he finally did, it wasn't for drama, it wasn't to rekindle a flame, it was to acknowledge something sacred, that even though he'd loved others, even though he'd built new families, new homes, and new beginnings, Brenda was the one who loved him when he had nothing. Before the Grammys, before the betrayals, before the world decided who Lionel Richie was supposed to be. She was there. And now, decades later, With his voice aging and his legacy secure, he gave her what the world had taken away, her place in his story, not as a footnote, but as the first sentence. Lionel Richie didn't say her name to make headlines. He didn't do it to heal a broken past. He said it because at 74, the spotlight finally stopped mattering more than the truth. Brenda Harvey had been the first to believe in him, the first to stay when things got hard, the first to break when his fame outgrew their marriage. And yet, through it all, she had never tried to rewrite the narrative. Now, after decades of silence, Lionel gave her what she never asked for, but always deserved: acknowledgement. He didn't deny what came after: his deep bond with Diane, the peace he found with Lisa, the love he still shares with his children and grandchildren. He owns all of it. But when someone says the love of my life, they're not talking about comfort or appearances or even shared children. They're talking about the thing, that deep, gut-level tether that time, distance, and even betrayal can't sever. For Lionel, that wasn't just about romance. It was about origin, because everything he became started with Brenda: his career, his fatherhood, his sense of self, his understanding of love and loss. No, they didn't grow old together. No, she wasn't the one beside him when his granddaughter was born. But love doesn't always live where you end up. Sometimes it lives where you started. Lionel's confession doesn't erase the pain he caused. It doesn't undo the choices made, but it does something even rarer. It honors the one who stood in the fire and never told the world how hot it burned. And for a man whose songs once told everyone else's stories, he finally told his own. Some love stories never get closure, but sometimes they get recognition. Was Lionel right to say it after all these years? Or was the silence all along part of the love? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you want more untold stories, quiet confessions, and emotional truths from music's greatest legends, subscribe to Retro Waves, because behind every love song, there's a name they never sang.